when we're not going to assign any time to any of our activities, or when we'll track more time that we have initially assigned to all activities, the progress component should display label day complete. So let's create testing scenario to check this fact. I'm going to duplicate existing test and change the description. I'll say that it shows completion label when day is complete. So as always, we're gonna do basic preparation before writing the actual logic in this test. Let's render the component first and check what text content this component will contain. So as you can see right now, it shows current progress. But what we need to see is the complete label. And the reason why it shows current progress is because when we have mocked the module earlier, and we have also mocked return value of the useTotalProgress function from that module, we have specified that the computed property percentage should contain value which corresponds to medium percent constant, which is 66%. So now let's go back to the header progress component implementation. Right here we are destructuring that value of the percentage, and then using this value in this Vue directive. So the only case when this expression will turn false is when percentage value will be equal to 100. And we need this condition to turn false because we have to display this div with VElse directive which says day complete. So for our particular case, we have to mock return value of the useTotalProgress function once again and make this computed property to store value of 100 instead of 66. So let's do the following. Let's go back to our test and we will start mocking the return value of the useTotalProgress function in the following way. Let's call method mocked and pass the reference to our function useTotalProgress, which of course has to be imported from the TotalProgress module first, right here. And then I'm going to call mock return value, where I'm gonna specify the value that this function useTotalProgress has to return during this particular test execution. In here I'm also going to use the same object shape, which should contain properties percentage and color class. Both of those will be computed properties, just like in the original implementation. But this time, instead of using medium percent for percentage computed property, we're gonna use 100% because we have to make this value to be equal to 100. And 100% constant correspond to value of 100. So now if we'll check one more time at the text content of the rendered component, this time instead of seeing the percentage value, we're going to see the complete label, just like we expect. So now we can get to writing expectations. In the first expectation, we're basically going to check that the text content of the component will contain the following label, day complete, and we're doing so by calling method to contain. And then I'm gonna duplicate this expectation one more time and check that the proper icon has to be shown to the right side of the day complete label. So let's find the component called base icon and call method exists. So this way we're checking that this base icon component will exist next to the day complete label. And now if we'll show the full markup of the component by using method HTML in the terminal, we're going to see this base icon stop to the right side of the day complete label. And in the browser, we're seeing this checkmark icon to the right side of the day complete label. So now let's make this test fail. I'm gonna go back to the header progress component, find that icon in the template and remove it. Let's see if the test is going to fail. And it is. Let's get back this icon, and to improve this expectation a little more, we can actually check that not base icon component will be present, but that this component will correspond to the particular icon that we're specifying here as a name prop. We can check it in the following way. First of all, let's refer to VM property that we can use to access props of this component. In this case, we're interested in the name prop. and we're going to compare the value of this prop with the icon name that we expect to see. It will be a check circle icon. And indeed the test is passing, so now we have guarantees that this exact icon will be used inside the header progress component. And of course, if I'm gonna change this icon, let's say we'll use play icon instead, sure enough the test is going to throw an error this time. So at the end, just because we have used mock in this test, it's a good practice to restore all mocks. So I'm gonna call method restore all mocks. Or just because we're using this method in more than one test of this file, we can also leverage so-called hooks that will allow us to run certain code before every test execution or after every test execution. So to run certain code before test execution, we can leverage hook called before each, which takes callback that has to be run before every test execution in this file. But in this case, since we need to restore all mocks after every test execution, I'm going to use after each hook instead. That has to be imported from the Vitest library. And now we can remove this method called restore all mocks from individual tests, because anyway, at the end of every test execution of this file, that method restore all mocks will still be called. Thankfully too, after each hook. At the end, let's not forget and remove this modifier only and run all tests in the project. All of them are passing. Link to the source code of this project will be in the video description.